everybody, welcome to the Untitled Sickos Project. I am your ordinator of chaos. The man, the myth, the guy who can randomize an entire video game. Not this one, but NHL. Anyways, I am the MaskedAura. I'm here joined today by fellow Sickos member, 24Amper.
What's up? How you doing today? How are you doing this night?
I am doing well. College football season is winding down to its glorious conclusion. Another season that I gotta say, it's probably was the most chaotic season I have seen in a very long time.
In terms of football, this was a stunning season to be perfectly honest. Remember how last year was completely chalk, no unranked over top 10 upsets? It took only 2 weeks for it to happen the first time, and then it just kept happening over and over again. Nobody was safe.
Nobody. I mean, you had Washington. Like we got. Don't get me wrong. We got some great games. Like we got. I mean, last year we just had a phenomenal send off to the end of the Pac-12. You had a great quarterback play. You had great quarterback play from Bo Nix, Penix Jr. You had Caleb Williams literally carrying an entire team. It was spectacular to see. And now we're in the new year where it is the chaos odometer turned all the way up. It seemed that if you had the 10th, if you ranked number 10, you were cursed from the start. And yeah, so what do you guys think? What was the one thing that surprised you the most?
I think the most surprising thing, I think the biggest surprise was actually, I think the biggest surprise was actually in the same rivalry. The big surprise was that Indiana was as good as they were, especially considering last year they had a decent enough defense. It wasn't terrible, but their offense was the worst thing in the planet. Rourke was awful under Tom Allen, I should say, and it was so bad that Tom got fired. The next year, Rourke is having a career season under his first-year head coach, Tom Signetti. Of course, they lost to Ohio State. That's probably the only expected thing to happen. But not a person alive expected them to have this kind of offense in year one. And they nearly made it to the Big Ten championship game. It was only because Penn State was able to fight off Minnesota that they could.
Yeah.
On the contrary, I'd say it would be a tie between Purdue and Florida State. Florida State's the obvious one. Number 10 in the country. They lost Jordan Travis, and yes, I'm pretty sure. I honestly do think, in hindsight, that 10th ranked was a little bit too high. I never really was all that high on DJ. I can't pronounce his last name, Wally.
Ungale, is it? I thought it was Ungale or something along those lines.
I don't know. Either way, I never really thought too highly of the dude, and for the first couple of weeks before he got injured for the year, it seemed pretty obvious. But even then, I didn't expect Florida State to be this bad. I thought they would have at worst been a bowling team, maybe 6-6. Instead, they become one of the very few to start ranked and finish with 10 losses in a season.
That was the biggest surprise, I think, was FSU, because a lot of the things that was apparent to last year with the finale of the 4-team college football playoff was that a lot of fans in Florida State, they felt like they got snubbed. You're undefeated, you win your conference championships, and you're left out? Which, I mean, that sets a fire in any team's belly. But I understood why. I understood it, because not only are you necessarily, you have a season of the greats, but it just shows how weak the ACC was, right? Like, you couldn't take Washington out. Washington had a terrific season. They beat Oregon twice. They beat USC in USC, which is no easy fret. And they were able to secure a not only in the CFP, but they got the second seed too. And then you had Texas that was 12-1. And I mean, I understand the bitterment of FSU fans, but then you start this year where you had DJ Angole, which I stated it in the Untitled FSU Project Part 2. The guy couldn't throw over 10 yards without pissing himself. You look at his early distribution charts. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was genuinely one of the worst things I've seen. DJ rarely made a good throw, often running for his life and throwing. It looked like he was just having trouble throwing the ball at all, let alone throwing it accurately and deep.
That's kind of one of the things in the ACC that you need. You're especially find that defenses aren't that good in the ACC. I mean, look at Miami, for goodness sakes. Cam Ward literally can carry the entire conference. Sorry, an entire team. But you can get away with having a bad defense, and they almost did. Like SMU, when it was SMU versus Pitt, right? SMU had committed 6 turnovers, still won. So it's something that, I mean, Florida State had a great defense, but you still need a quarterback. Yeah, you gotta air the ball out consistently enough to win games, right? You lose to Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. I can kind of forgive it, right? Because normally you have your cupcake week, right? Week 0, week 1, it's your cupcake game. You go up against some poor sap from FCS. They come to your house. You pound the everlasting crap out. You beat the everlasting crap out of them. You look at some game film. You can comb over the mistakes. Then you're playing your G5 opponent as a little more of a tune-up. And then you play someone a little bit better. Or it could be your state rival. And then you gear up for conference play. Florida State had to get ready from the word go. Week 0, you have to go to Dublin, Ireland to play Georgia Tech. And then you got to come back home and play Boston College. That, they had no opportunity to play an FCS opponent to get ready for the season. I felt that. So I could kind of forgive it. But still,
I think the funny thing is that their season actually started very well. The very first drive was an incredibly seamless touchdown drive that made people believe that Florida State's offense was going to be as good, if not better, than last year. And that was all they got, and that was all that Florida State got for the next several weeks.
That was it. Just the first drive against Georgia Tech.
Yep, the first drive against Georgia Tech was arguably the single best offensive drive they had all season long.
And I was listening to that game at work too, and I was like, hey, this is Florida State. Hey, this is the revenge tour. And then the rest of the game played out, and I'm going, what the frick is going on? Because I was looking, because we're doing we do usually do pick'ems, and I was almost about to double down on Georgia Tech beating FSU. I really should have made that my double down. Instead I did I don't even remember what I did. They played San Diego State. That's all I know. That's all I can remember. But San Jose State. But San Jose State ended up winning that one. But yeah, no, Florida State. I mean, do you want to know who they play in Week 1 next year?
Who do they play in week 1 next year?
Alabama.
Oh, they're screwed.
Yeah, they're done. They're boned. I mean, their recruiting class right now ranks 53rd in the nation. And they are in Florida's is like the Florida, Texas, Georgia, New York, like those are like football factories for colleges. Like you're scouting the everlasting snot out of those, and a lot of kids do want to play local. I mean, they do have one 5-star commitment. How do they say?
Hello, Noah. Hello, Luke.
They have five. They have like one 5-star committed player already committed for the next year's class. But I mean, you look at what else they got. I mean, you even just compared to like your in-state rivals, Miami and Florida, they're all in the top 20 in terms of recruiting for the next season. So, with that in mind, Florida State's already fallen behind. I doubt they're gonna go give DJ Angole a medical red shirt. Purely like, I don't think they're going to medical redshirt him. I don't think they're going to allow him to be a super senior unless you can find something in the transfer portal this year. I mean, Florida State, they're done. They're going to be done for a while. Sure, you can fire your OC, your DC. But you bring in the guy from UCF. You know, I'm not confident.
Which guy from UCF?
They brought the head coach in from UCF.
Ew.
Oh yes, Gus Malzahn. Yes, the guy that the guy that so many people
He needs to be crucified. No offense. He stinks.
Yeah. So that's your option as your OC. That's the guy. That's your option. And I'm looking at this going, oh dear Lord, no. And with that start that Florida has, Florida's like the good news is they play Kent State the following week.
Oh man.
So like there I'm like, okay, you play Kent State. There's some room for, there's some room for, yeah, look at their schedule. Then they play an FCS opponent, 2-1. There you go. They'll have enough to like not be completely embarrassed, but outside the only potential, like they got, I think Arizona's quarterback. He announced he was hitting the transfer portal. The other kind of really notable one is Quinn Ewers. I doubt that Texas, like for his career, he has to go somewhere else if he doesn't declare for the draft because Archie Manning, he's ready. So do you try to get Quinn Ewers to come to your team? If you're Florida, but yeah, Florida State, one of the worst seasons that comes to mind, and I do think that they're going to be quite the popular team to do a rebuild for college football 26.
I mean, to be fair, that team got like totally nuked between the day their quarterback got injured and the whole like bowl game fiasco.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
At the start of this season, though, like
it really
all
is
of their good
unfortunate.
players left. Then they're left with scraps. Then they just suck this entire year.
It really is unfortunate how Florida State was generally one of the best teams in the country. Maybe the best offense in the not the best offense.
Probably the best though. If their
Probably
quarterback didn't get injured though.
Yeah.
No joke.
Against an FCS team of all teams. A cupcake game ends Florida State's season and pretty much destroys their entire future in one fell swoop. And now they have to start all over.
Yep, pretty much. At least our head coach seems decent though, but I haven't really been following Florida State. I've just been mauling over the whole UCF fiasco of Gus, where we literally won our first 3 games we won our first 2 games easily. we beat TCU on a field goal. And I'm thinking, oh boy, we're gonna go and kill Colorado, and this is gonna be Florida, like like UCF's year to like prove we're a real college program. Since like the 2018, undefeated season fiasco where we only get a bowl game and murder Georgia, and finish the season undefeated, and only get first like the undisputed number one ranking in one poll, but then we use that as a justification for our national championship. And then to now though, where we've just been either mid or bad.
I mean, I kind of feel like that, like even with Washington too, like they should have beat Washington State in the Apple Cup. But I feel that a lot of first 2 weeks where if it's where you have an FCS opponent and a group of 5 team, it's a very illusion thing because 95% of the time you're coming out of those 2-0. So those are the great illusions, and the thing that Colorado got destroyed by Nebraska. But what's the one thing that they've learned? They realized instead of going 5 on the line, they bring in a tight end, a blocking tight end, and then what do you know? They've adjusted, they switch up their personnel, and they're starting to look way better on offense.
Yeah, and then they use UCF's cannon fodder, who'd been full of themselves after clobbering two FCS opponents and then TCU. So we're coming in prideful after a bye week. They're coming into our house. And keep in mind, College Game Day was in Orlando that day. And I really wanted to get tickets though, but like I missed the deadline though because I didn't get into the right Ticketmaster account. Because as a UCF student, I can get free tickets. So I'm thinking, oh boy, this Saturday, I'm gonna go tailgate with some college buddies, have a good time, and then we're gonna murder Colorado, and I'm gonna be, the most smug man in the group chat the entire day. And then I miss the game, we get clobbered, and sorry, I've been drinking though, so I'm kind of going in circles.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, that's something that. Yes, I mean, you beat Sam Houston, you destroy New Hampshire, beat TCU, Colorado destroys you, and then Florida beats the snot out of you.
How did we lose? Hang on, the Gators or the Seminoles?
Gators.
Yeah,
Gators.
I knew we lost to the Gators. My goodness.
I mean, honestly, do you remember what team I'm actually was an underrated sneaky surprise? Florida.
The Gators?
The Gators.
Yeah, Gators are definitely a
I
sneaky
thought
team.
they were going to be screwed this
They're
year.
they're not quite like Colorado where there's a sneaky good bad team. They're more like a sort of mid-tier team where they'll definitely beat some teams, but they're gonna lose to the really good teams more often than not though. So like let's say Texas, Oregon, maybe Ohio State, that's kind of pushing it.
But like,
They roll into the Gators' home. I forget the name of the stadium. They're gonna be.
I think it's just known as the Swamp.
The Swamp.
Yeah, I think that's what it's known as though, but it's not the official name. I don't know. I have like one friend who goes to Florida.
One of the things that was noted, they beat Texas A&M, which
There they go. I mean, to be fair, the
Texas A&M,
SEC has been
they
a total
beat
tire
Ole Miss,
fire this
too.
year because Vandy beat Alabama. Texas lost to Ole Miss, if I'm correct, or is that Georgia lost to Ole Miss?
Georgia, I think the best way I say what the SEC was, it's been a frickin' bloodbath.
Yeah, it has been so glorious to see Big Ten dominance for once.
Well, the Big Ten is
I
like.
know.
Well, here's the thing, though. I'm not going to let the Big Ten. It is such an easy conference when you have the 3 of the biggest jokes in all of college football. Washington, which is starting from square one again. UCLA.
No, I'm thinking of Washington State. That's still in the Pac-2. That's right.
The Pac-2. So you had Purdue, a joke. Maryland, lol. Northwestern, lol. Wisconsin, they haven't figured it out. Michigan State, again, nothing there. Nebraska, I thought they were going to be so much better than what they were.
Man, I have a friend of mine that's a Nebraska fan. Please pray for him, though. He's going through it because he is a Browns, Nebraska, Pirates, and I don't know if he's a basketball fan.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no,
He
Nebraska, like,
literally roots for the 3 big meme teams in like the North and like the Midwest, depending on however you feel about Pittsburgh.
I will say the Big Ten is very top heavy. The Big
Yeah.
Ten is very top heavy, right? Like Ohio, Penn State, Oregon, and then with the surprise of Indiana. But then there's just
Michigan under Harbaugh.
yeah,
But he's gone
exactly. But then you got a lot of just okay, and then a lot of bad. Whereas to me in the SEC, yes, they do have bad teams like Mississippi, but dude, Kentucky wasn't an easy out. Auburn, if they could just finish a game.
Auburn can be really good when they want to be.
Like Oklahoma first year in the SEC. I mean, even Vanderbilt, they had it tough. Arkansas, tough thing. Like Florida, dude, Florida's resolve was insane. LSU had, I mean, it was.
LSU won a natty in 2019 though. Okay, LSU is definitely a top tier program. They're down on their luck at the moment though, but with one good recruiting class, they could easily be, title contenders again.
I don't think they're going to be title contenders. 2 of their 5 stars decommitted.
I mean, like, with one good recruiting class actually stays.
That is going to be something that they're going to have to do. But, like, the thing that the SEC, I knew what it was going to do. It was going to devour itself.
Which, as an SEC hater, I'm a big fan of, though, because I'm a Big 12 guy.
I'm a big college game guy, and most of the big games this year was in the SEC. As much as it annoys people, the SEC just means more.
The SEC is always the funnest division. Normally they run college football, but when they don't, it is just pure chaos ball. It's not quite AFC North levels of just pure meme, but like when the SEC is on, it is cooking.
The SEC did cook this year. It did cook. There's a lot of teams there's a lot of really good teams. There's still the bad teams, but there's a lot of very, very good football programs. Like the fact that Vanderbilt decided to step up for once. Like even they finished 6-6, but like they put themselves in a direction where they could make some more noise in the SEC next year.
Okay, I thought you guys were recording for a moment.
We are recording!
Oh, we are recording?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
We are recording.
I just came in here mildly intoxicated looking in the chat with friends, so I didn't know I was going to be on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi, it's Juggerbear. Please follow my Twitter because Elon banned all my bot followers.
Yeah, it's a recording.
Yay! Please give me dopamine.
Yeah, no, SEC dogfight. It was the dogfight I knew it was gonna be. You had Texas beating Georgia losing to Alabama. You had Ole Miss beating Georgia. You had Tennessee beating Alabama. You had Oklahoma just shutting down whatever Alabama could do.
And that's the game where most people think that Alabama does not deserve to make the playoffs.
I agree. I would rather see Miami, but...
Miami would be more interesting, but I think Alabama on paper is a better team for the playoffs, but I hate Alabama so much. And are they a 2 or 3 loss team this year? I'm forgetting.
3. They lost
3, yeah, they shouldn't be in, though. If you lose 3 games, you're out of the playoffs. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Those are really high-quality losses. Like, let's say you're some, Schmibbity Schmoes University or whatever. I don't know. And you lose to Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make an argument if they're good losses.
But
you're losing to Vandy.
But, like, the thing with Alabama... the thing that would be okay. The only reason I'm only okay if Miami doesn't make the CFP is if you make one of the New Year's game, Colorado versus Miami. Oh, that would be a huge bowl game.
That would literally print money.
It would, but then we'd all realize that Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward would just declare for the draft and not play the game.
Yeah, probably.
Which would suck, but like, imagine, I would love to see Miami and Colorado and playing in a fantastic, like, those two would put up like 50 points on each other, and it'd be such a good game. I'd be so down to see those two, but yeah, no, Alabama's gonna be likely in that spot. I think Alabama's probably gonna be in it, which, I mean, Alabama, again, sneaks into the college football playoffs, and do you want to know what I'm going to say? Just go to 32 and shut everybody up. Because if you're 5-3 or 4-4 in conference play, I don't think you should make the college football playoff. Period.
Exactly.
You don't deserve to be in the college football playoff for having a mediocre season in terms of conference play. You could go undefeated, right, with your cupcakes and beating like a same tier school in a different conference. But, like, you gotta win your conference games. But I do think the committee, just go to 32. Go to 32. You'll have all the SEC and Big Ten teams in there, all that you want. And, again, if the SEC...
Then you can get some, like, group of 4 teams, though, so that they stop complaining. And you can make your Cinderella narratives and mark it as, like, March Madness in the fall. Well, not the fall, but the winter, though.
Like, start
with
college football
money.
in August. Start this in August.
Yeah.
Like, early
and, like,
August.
Let's say you don't want to compete with the Super Bowl. Have your championship, like, the week before the Super Bowl, because nobody's watching the Pro Bowl. No offense to the Pro Bowl. I went to a Pro Bowl, and the one time I did was the day Kobe died, so I'm not going to another one.
Like, the Pro Bowl doesn't even have that luster. Like, you're not even going to frickin' Hawaii anymore.
Yeah, you go to Orlando. I live near Orlando.
Vegas.
I don't want to go to Orlando.
You go to Vegas. It's in Vegas.
Oh, okay. My bad. The only time I went was when I was in Orlando, and it's just like, it was cloudy, it was chilly, but not like the cool football kind of chilly, just like, oh, it's a little chilly.
Anyways, on to the conference championships. We have several great games this weekend. We're going to go over kind of the big ones. Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State, CUSA. Both these teams are 8-4, and I couldn't give who wins, but maybe Western Kentucky because they have a funnier mascot. And Amherst Stadium in Jacksonville, Alabama. But this upcoming one has massive CFP implications. UNLV versus Boise State. Winner advances to the CFP.
Well, we already know who Nick's rooting for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're Nick.
Oh yeah,
UNLV. GNT and gets another rematch with versus a rematch versus UNLV, with UNLV having probably one of the most, I want to say, very interesting and surging years that I have seen a program grow through. They lose their starting quarterback who entered the transfer portal, who used his red shirt to go into the transfer portal over NIL stuff, and it didn't matter. UNLV still soared to a very strong, was it 9-3 to 10-2? They went 10-2 this year. Almost beat Syracuse, and
they almost beat Boys too. They were actually they were one of the only teams all year to actually keep up with Boise's offensive game. Most other teams that came close had to stall Boise's offense. UNLV actually played up to them.
Not to mention you had Boise State having a great year at 11-1. Like, this is a fantastic game for a Friday night. Like,
I know, that is going to be such a good game.
it is going to be if you are probably it's gonna be uploaded Friday. Yeah, I think it's gonna be up. I'll have this up tomorrow and then public Friday. But if you're not a fan of college, if you're not a fan of any of these two teams, this is the stuff that's gonna put the Mountain West more on the map. As I think this is probably going to be the strongest that the Mountain West will be before the rebuilding of the Pac-12, which I should just say the Pac-12 and Mountain West should just merge into one conference they should. Really because, the way how I see it, when you're losing top your good schools in the conference, it doesn't really help the prestige. And the committee I find that they take a lot of conference prestige into they take that into account of where they rank schools. So, but this is going to be a really good game on Fox. So if you got nothing to do, this is going to be a fantastic game to watch. This is going to be another one to watch Ashton Jeanty as he tries to cement his case for the Heisman. There's going to be more games, but I feel like if he's going to really make a strong case, he has to carry Boise State to a win.
Yeah. Can I just say something real quick? I hate the Big 12 so much. I know I'm a Big 12 fan, but the fact that our championship is literally Iowa State versus Arizona State is such a massive letdown, man.
Yeah.
At least coming out of the beginning of the season,
But Iowa State had an Arizona resurgence, which is really good. But I don't think the Big 12 is weak. I think there's a lot of colleges that are trying to build themselves up. They're trying.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the one problem that the Big 12 just doesn't have. It doesn't have a daddy. A daddy school that's here just to beat up on other schools.
Yeah.
Utah, I mean, they lost their starting quarterback again, and they've given him a medical red shirt because there's nothing else out there, really? I mean, Arizona had such a disappointing season. And then Colorado took a total advantage of it. I mean, Kansas could destroy a top-tier Big 12 school, but yet can't handle the other guys,
Yeah.
It's I that's all that. And I think there's just the Big 12 I think is going to be in an aura of transition, and I would try to pitch Washington State to join as soon as you can.
I mean, isn't the Big 12 more like a Midwest of a little bit of Southeast? Washington State's kind of far.
Why you want Washington State? Because they're a good college. They're a good college.
But yeah, they're a good college. But I mean,
it's for it doesn't matter anymore. The Big Ten was all Northeast. Now you have the entire West Coast.
US, yeah.
To me,
Pac-12 for imploding.
It doesn't matter.
I know.
I know traditionalists are gonna look at this and go, you want, your local regions. You want just to keep it regionals, but that's why the Pac-12 dissolved, because there were schools that are we could be in a better conference, and especially with the CFP, right? All we just need to do is go 10-2, and we're in. And, money. But Iowa State and Arizona State should be entertaining enough.
Yeah, it'll be an entertaining game, but none of those teams are going far in the college football playoffs. We'll just get murdered by a Big Ten, Gladiator or whatever, meme team comes out of the SEC.
They're going to be in the 12th seed, and they're going to have to play, I think, Ohio State. I think
Honestly,
should be Ohio State.
I'm going to call my upset now. I think Penn State has a real good shot at beating Oregon. Oregon may be undefeated, but they seem
There's
like a
no
very.
upsets for college football this week. It's all
Let me
NFL.
dream. Let me dream.
It's all for pick'ems. It's only in the NFL because we have all the conference championship games are in pick'ems this week.
Penn State's an interesting case because I think on paper they have the team that can actually beat Oregon, just like Juggerbear said. But the problem is that James Franklin against teams with numbers to the left of them has been notorious for coming up short and playing too cute. We saw it against Ohio State. I think Penn State had the better. All right, this might come out as wild to say, but I think Penn State on paper was better than Ohio State in that game. But the problem is they got too cute, made way too many mistakes, made a lot of silly decisions. There was the infamous goal line stand, the now infamous goal line stand after Tyler Warren's played at the 5-yard line. It's not on paper Penn State can beat anyone. It's just the execution, which has been a problem for many years now for sure. But more than ever now, they have to execute. Do you honestly think they can?
They could, if they actually do something.
I don't know. I mean, even then, I think Oregon is more than ready to win this
Oregon
game.
Is the top team in the country for a reason.
It is, but one of the things that really separates Oregon from everybody else, and I notice this a lot when, as a Washington fan, we have to play Oregon every year because they're now our new rival. It should be I see more Washington State as our rival, but it is Oregon's now kind of our new rival, and especially last year, the head coach loves to take a lot of risks. Like, a lot of risks. I even, like, you saw the last 30 seconds of the game between Ohio State and Oregon, where they intentionally had 12 players on the field. And they gave up 5 yards for 15 seconds. Which was absolutely genius play call, like decision by the coaching staff at Oregon. And because of that, instead of giving yourself more room to kick the game-winning field goal, they're just outside of field goal range, and they had to get a touchdown to win the game, or that was it, right? So
Sorry to interrupt everything though, but we got this is like 3-hour news though, but it's breaking to me though. But remember Aziz Al-Shaair from the it was the Jacksonville game though, where he nearly murdered Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Well, he just posted on the Instagram after his suspension got upheld that Joker face, like the Joker image of like Joaquin Phoenix in his Joker makeup saying, "If you want me to be your villain, I will be your villain." Middle finger emoji.
But that's not being a villain, that's just being a dick.
Yeah, I know. I hate this guy, and I only learned he existed like last week.
I'm going to be honest. When people are giving you death threats, you either can apologize or play into the narrative, and he chooses to.
And hopefully you don't wind up like the United Health CEO.
So, way to embrace the villain, I guess. You do you, buddy! That's my reaction to it. But back on track here, yeah. I feel like Oregon's going to be coaching circles. It's going to be a complete coaching mismatch against James Franklin. I think that, it's going to be Oregon's going to. I feel they're going to belt to the ass to Penn State.
Yeah.
Belt to the freaking ass. I think that's something that's going to be a very obvious theme. Belt to the ass says Oregon. And then we have also Georgia and Texas. And then a really good game at 1 p.m. Georgia, it feels like a home game. It is in Mercedes-Benz, which is basically the Georgia Bulldogs' alternate home field.
Yeah.
Texas will now have... What do you think Texas is going to do to really learn from how they lost to Georgia?
Just hope Arch Manning can become the Eli Manning of the SEC and defeat the great Satan of Georgia. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. Because if you don't remember, Georgia had to play Alabama and then Texas. So, and you know, we thought, and Alabama was beating the crap out of Georgia. And miraculous game-winning touchdown from a 17-year-old true freshman. And I felt that Georgia learned a lot of lessons from losing to Alabama at home. So they took what they've learned and beat Texas in the Longhorn Stadium. So what does Texas need to do to really learn from their mistakes from playing Georgia last time?
They need to beat Beck. Carson Beck is Georgia's X factor, the do or die. He's either going to be gunslinging touchdowns or gunslinging picks. That's how it's been every single game.
Yeah, I think their game plan is basically just give all the good players on Georgia a bunch of alcohol and some car keys and hope they all get DUIs.
Yeah. I mean, the way how I look at it is... It is all on... This game's good. It's not going to come down to Quinn Ewers. It's going to come down to Carson Beck.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a game that propel his draft stock or keeps him as what I see him right now as a day 3 pick.
Yeah, this is definitely Georgia's game to lose, though, because they're on basic... I mean, they're not basically, they are on home field. They're playing in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. They are the quote-unquote a road team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think both of these teams... I think Texas, as of right now, is a lock. I think there's only 4 locks for the CFP. 3? I want to say 3. 3 locks, which no matter if they win or if they lose, they're still in it. I have 4 locks. Notre Dame is a lock right now. Please be in a conference, Notre Dame. Soft. I think it is Texas. I think Texas is in. And Oregon is in. Actually, 3. Yeah, I know it was 3. I think Oregon and Texas are the... Oh, Penn State. Well, if they win or lose, I think Penn State's still in. Just a much lower seed. Whereas if Georgia loses, I think they're done.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they're done.
I doubt it. I think Georgia clinched their bid last week when they beat Georgia Tech in 8 overtimes.
Mm-hmm.
They turned a must-win game into a battle for seeding.
All right, that's fair. And then we have the ACC, SMU, which is a team that I quote-unquote was learning that Florida State was suing the ACC over the addition of SMU, saying that they weren't a real program. They're in the ACC championship this year. From winning the Sun Belt, right? Sun Belt?
Conference last year.
They were in the Sun Belt last year, right?
No, SMU, they were in the American.
Okay. So they were in the winning the American Conference. So now making this jump from Group of 5 to the Power 4 versus the big boys in Clemson. Clemson is in a must-win to advance to the CFP. If SMU loses, do they still remain in the CFP?
Probably.
I think of all the power conferences, the ACC is going to be the one. The the ACC is going to be the one the conference is the hardest on.
Yeah.
Since it's been a pretty lackluster conference all around, with the exception of SMU, maybe Clemson. And I personally can't take Miami seriously.
Yeah, Miami's a meme school though, but I mean, if SMU beats Clemson, Miami probably sneaks in like by the skin of their teeth, if that. So, I mean, yeah, if SMU wins, ACC looks better. If Clemson wins, though, then just burn the conference to the ground.
Right where Florida State says, right where Florida State is, Miami's given, as of right now, a 1% chance to make it. Whereas
Maybe
the
they'll-
locks right now are Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Penn State. Those are the given a more than, according to ESPN, more than 99% chance of making it. Alabama's at 86. Boise State's at 69. Nice. SMU's at 68. Iowa State's at 55. Clemson's at 46. Arizona State's at 45. UNLV is at 32. And Miami is at 1.
By the way, while we're talking about Notre Dame, can we just talk about how they hate America real quick, though? Because they murdered Army a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but that's what should have been expected.
I don't care. I just wanted to make fun of Notre Dame fans. Specifically, one of my friends who graduated from there.
I mean, here's the thing.
Alas,
Notre Dame, like, my knock on them is that I don't think they played a tough schedule this year.
they did not at all. Their toughest game was surprisingly Army.
No Texas in Texas.
Texas
A&M
Actually,
in
their toughest game was-
Texas.
their toughest game was NIU.
No, it wasn't NIU. They rebound from NIU.
Yeah, they did rebound. That's right.
Yeah, they did rebound from playing. They rebounded nicely, but yeah. And the thing is, I mean, I think it's good lord, this predictor is saying Georgia's gonna win it all.
And Georgia should win that game.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But now we're gonna go on to the, I think, last bit. How much time we got? Last bit. Okay, probably the last bit.
The AAC, the Army Tulane game.
Oh yeah, that game. I would say that game matters, but
It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter
Memphis
though.
pretty
It's
much
basically
destroyed
who
it.
gets a
Pretty
better
much
bowl
destroyed
game
the
is
ACC
that.
into the playoffs.
I would say that game matters between Tulane and Army. And don't get me wrong, I like Tulane. They're probably my favorite group of 5 team. You just please beat a power conference. Signed, Luke.
Yeah, like neither of these teams beat a serious Power 5 team though. So off to the bowl. Congrats, you get to go bowling because you had good records. But other than that though, like please get out of my college football playoffs.
All right.
Although it would have been really funny to see Army like squeak in there, but
Army had to keep
they had
it.
to beat Notre Dame.
You had to keep it close against Notre Dame, man.
Yeah, at least keep it close. But no,
They did not keep it
you
close
did
against
not
Notre
because
Dame.
it turns out most top recruits want to play in the NFL, not be Army officers. So womp womp.
Yeah, womp womp indeed.
Enjoy the Pop-Tart Bowl.
So, now on to who is going to be in the I gotta Google search a CFP bracket here. Maybe there's a CFP bracket that I can quickly.
I mean, at this point, it might as well just be astrology. But let's play a little like too early CFB bracket.
Where's a creator? Please tell me someone has a CFP bracket creator. Do they have one? Oh goody. Oh, wait. This is for freaking basketball. I don't want... Okay, do I have to create a bracket? I don't want to enter my email. Bracket generator. Okay, we're just going to blindly do this. Okay. All right. Who is getting the number 1 seed?
Oregon.
Oregon.
2 is whoever wins probably the SEC championship, which should be Georgia?
I think it's Texas.
I still think Georgia wins that game though, but I don't really feel comfortable giving a 2-loss team the number 2 seed. But it's like, who else can get it though? Because SMU is definitely the consensus 3 seed, and the 4 seed is probably the winner of Boise State SMU.
Right now, yeah, no, okay. It is, yeah, the 3rd seed's Big 12 as the ACC right now. So, what better way to do a Noah? You have the tiebreaker. Who's getting the 2nd seed, Georgia or Texas?
I'd probably give it to Texas. I just think Georgia gets in their own way too many times.
Texas, all right, and then crap. All right, ACC, SMU versus Clemson. Who gets in?
It's gonna be SMU.
I want it to be SMU. Use the transfer portal. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If UNLV wins, they're likely, in my opinion, getting the 12th seed. If UNLV wins. If Boise State wins, they're getting the 4th seed. Do you think Boise State loses to UNLV?
I think it'll be close, but I think Boise State will squeak it out just in the end. They feel like a slightly better team.
Nobody solved Gene T yet. I don't see
Yeah.
it. Not even Oregon's could stop Ashton Gene T. I don't think anyone else is.
It's going to be very hard to stop them. Very hard to stop them. Very, very tough to stop. So, who would win?
It was good for the quick chat, though. I'm sorry for crashing your stream, though, but you guys can carry it on from here.
Yeah, well, thanks for jumping. Well, it's not a stream. It's going to be a video.
Oh, video? Okay, then I'm sorry for crashing the video. My bad.
It's all good, man.
Alright, this is Juggerbear. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Okay, so the 12th seed would be... it would be Arizona or Iowa State. Who would get the 12th seed?
It's hard to say, but I'd honestly give it to Iowa State.
I agree.
Arizona's a surprise story. I think Iowa State just has more experience in the situation.
Yeah, I agree to that. I think it's going to be Iowa State. I think they've looked better. I think they played better competition. I think Rocco Beck looks to have a really good game. But yeah, I give the 12th seed to Iowa State. Now, who would you give the 5th seed? Who is playing Iowa State in the first round? This is where it gets interesting.
Probably Notre Dame. If Penn State falls, then Notre Dame's probably. If Penn State loses to Oregon as it's predicted, then Notre Dame is likely going to jump them. So Notre Dame would take on Iowa State.
Notre Dame takes on Iowa State in the first round. Winner would play Boise State. According to the predictor. All right, for the 6th seed, who's going 6th? Tennessee. Yeah, just because they benefit by not playing.
Yeah.
Tennessee benefits just by not playing. Who gets 7?
7 will likely be Penn State afterwards.
Penn State, yeah. I'd say Penn State. Penn State gets the 7th seed. Who is hosting? Who hosts? Who gets the 8th seed?
This is where it gets a bit more tricky. I'd give it to the Hoosiers.
Indiana. Okay, yeah, I want Indiana.
Oh wait, is Ohio State ranked ahead of them? Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
It's Ohio State.
Ohio State would be the 8th seed then. Then Indiana would be the 9th seed.
Really? I think... You don't think it would be... Georgia? No, it would be Georgia if they lost. If Georgia loses... Oh, poor Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Georgia would be the 9th seed.
Georgia's the 9th seed, not Indiana.
Wait, Indiana's the 9th seed, Georgia's the 10th seed. Now I got it. Cool.
There we go. So, Georgia would go to play Penn State. Georgia plays Penn State. Who plays Tennessee?
Despite the fact that I don't think they should be here, probably Bama.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think Bama's being carried off that Georgia win. That was a great win, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that two of those 3 losses are honestly just inexcusable, especially the Oklahoma one.
100%. So let's play in theory. Who's winning? Notre Dame or Iowa State? Let's play
I actually respect Notre Dame. They've been blowing teams out. However, I just can't shake off the fact that someone's going to go wrong, and I think that Ohio State's going to beat them. Notre Dame did struggle against USC.
Yeah, I think Iowa wins. It's just I don't think Notre Dame has played really good competition all year long.
Fair enough.
I think Iowa State wins. They've had a lot of give me games. Like, don't get me wrong, I think their toughest opponent was Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville. Their best ranked game was the Army.
Mm-hmm.
They did beat Texas A&M, but they struggled the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that they have. I don't think they need to play. Like, if you're Notre Dame, you have to try and, like, don't get me wrong. If you look at the beginning of the schedule, no one knew that USC. We all thought USC was going to be better than what they were. Florida State was just dead by the end of after the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So they tried, but I think they gotta try to limit the amount of Group 5 teams that they schedule. Like, you don't need both Navy and Army. You have to go outside of those games to really convince me. But yeah, no, I don't think I think Notre Dame's gonna be one and done. Ohio State versus Indiana, the rematch.
I still think it's going to be Ohio State.
Yeah.
Indiana has a great offense, but Ohio State has a solid enough offense and defense. Now, I say solid enough because it was awful against Michigan, but you know what I mean.
All right, and then we got Penn State and Georgia. I think this goes to Georgia.
I think it does too. I actually think it can go either way. In a way, this could be a who wants to lose kind of game too. Carson Beck's picks and Penn State just getting too cute.
I just think it's just James Franklin not really beating it. I think it's just the James Franklin disease of where, I mean, he's not. It's what's holding him back is that he's just not a top 10 coach in college. That's what holds him back. He just it's when you're trying to rank up in competitive video games, and there's just this you're hard stuck. Like James Franklin is hard stuck in Masters when he's trying to be in GM. Like no matter what he does, he can't get into a GM. He's hard stuck in Masters. He's good, just can't get to that next level. And then the rematch, Tennessee and Bama.
Tennessee, I don't like Bama at all.
You're right, but I hate myself for saying as I think Bama pulls up the upset.
Honestly, that would be the most college football playoff thing to happen.
I think
the team doesn't deserve it. They end up making a deep run. Happens so often.
I hate to overrule this. I think Alabama upsets Tennessee. I'm sorry, college football fans. I think Alabama wins. I'm sorry. Second round. Oregon and Ohio State.
Oregon.
Yep. I think Oregon, just because I think Sean Day. I think Ohio State and Indiana is going to be a lot closer than people think.
Wait, did you just say Sean Day?
Who's the head coach of Ohio State?
Ryan Day.
Sorry, Ryan Day. My bad. Ryan Day, I don't think he has the locker room. I think he'll barely beat Indiana, but versus Oregon, they're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And I think Sean Day gets fired after the game.
One thing I got to say is that I think Dan Lanning has established himself as one of the best coaches in the entire sport in just 2 years. Mm-hmm. He was the only. Dan Lanning's Oregon squad was the only team that actually gave Penix's Washington Huskies an offensive showdown.
I hated playing Oregon, man. I hated playing Oregon, dude. I hated them. Oregon, I did not like playing Oregon because, their coach is smart. And don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful for Kellen DeBoer because I think he's very good too. But was not a fan of playing Oregon twice. I think that in the Pac-12 championship, I wasn't really worried. We had them from day one, but versus them in Washington, that game was intense. He was aggressive. But yeah, no, he is one of the best coaches right now, and that's what's put Oregon on top of everybody else right now. And I love my favorite moment of him was his comments towards Colorado. They're here for clicks and views. We're here to win games, and they beat they showed the world just how much of a fraud Colorado was. So
yeah,
I agree. He is one of the next. I think Oregon might be the next. Don't be surprised if Oregon's the next big boy of all of college football, and that's something that Ohio State fans really wish they were, but they're not. All right, Boise State versus Iowa. Whomstith wins the game?
All right, this is actually a really tough one. In previous year, because Boise State is the group of five team. We have seen one group of five team make it to the playoffs ever. The Cincinnati Bearcats, a team that defied all odds, even had a huge upset against Notre Dame. But eventually they got exposed due to their lack of size against Bama.
I mean,
for as good as Boise State is, there's just a party that thinks it's going to happen again. Iowa State just has the size advantage by virtue of being a Power 4 school. Ashton Jeanty's great, for sure, But how much can that defense stop Iowa State? How much can the quarterback play beat Iowa State's defense? If Ashton Jeanty gets, if it all could, Boise State's offense is not just Ashton Jeanty. It has to be more than him. If everything else gets stuffed and Ashton Jeanty has to carry, then I feel like Boise State will be on borrowed time, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Iowa State's going to get them.
I think I look back to when Cincinnati made the college football playoff. I felt this in my bones. We wanted them in, and we knew they were going to get destroyed by Alabama. Like, I went in knowing that, like, it'd be so much fun to have Cincinnati in. They're going to get destroyed by Alabama. And they got destroyed by Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cyclones beats Boise State. But I also think that if Jeanty wins them the game, I give him the Heisman. I think this is the game where if Jeanty just goes on a tear, he wins the Heisman. But I think Iowa State, I mean, they managed to, I think they have a better defense than their state rival Iowa, who's known for defense. Rocco Beck does enough to get the ball down the field. The Cyclones look really, really good this year. I go for Iowa State pulling off the upset. And for the third time this year, Texas versus Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, who wins round 3?
Oh my god.
Who wins round 3?
Well, they say third time's a charm, except no, it's not. Texas is winning again.
Texas wins the overall series. Yeah. Imagine you're gonna have to play Georgia twice in a row if you're Texas, if this outcome comes true. If you're Texas, you have to play them in the championship and in the second round. Texas advances. SMU and Alabama. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to give this one to Alabama again.
This is actually a pretty close one. Now, I did predict Tennessee beats Alabama, and if Tennessee would beat Alabama, then I would think Tennessee would also beat SMU. But assuming Alabama beats Tennessee, then it becomes a lot more interesting. I actually do think SMU is the better team here, and I also do think that SMU can actually win. Now, this will only really be confirmed if SMU beats Clemson. If SMU can beat Clemson, then I definitely think they have the chance to make a deep run. Clemson is going to be their biggest test of the entire season. So I'll wait on that pick. For now, I'll say SMU. Cautiously, though.
I'm going to do it. It's going to be up to a coin toss. All right. Heads or tails?
Tails.
It's heads. Alabama wins.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think it's Alabama. It's just because I don't take the ACCs. If it's Bama versus Clemson, I think Clemson wins. If it's Bama versus SMU, I think it's Alabama.
All right.
The coin hath spoken. Okay, Oregon versus Iowa State.
This is where Iowa State's run ends. Oregon is the most complete team in the country.
Oregon. Texas. Man, Texas really loves the SEC. Texas versus Alabama, and then we'll do a scenario of Texas versus SMU.
Texas versus Alabama. I've got to say Texas.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really mention this, but earlier in the season, Alabama's big problem was their defense. They had no defense. Their offense was great, but they couldn't defend. That's how they almost lost to Georgia. That's how they did lose to Vandy. They almost blew it to South Carolina, too, with that. But, at the same time, in recent weeks, it's been their defense. Their defense has been great, but their offense has had some serious problems. They struggled to beat Auburn. Well, it wasn't much of a struggle as they defensively walloped the Tigers, but offensively they didn't really do much. They scored 28 points, but it didn't feel like Bama at all.
I feel like Kellen DeBoer, like, he's proven to be a recruiter. Like, even when Nick Saban left, there was 5 stars that decommitted. He got them to recommit. So he doesn't have a problem with recruiting. I just feel like that when it comes in terms of like discipline and coaching, Alabama's just traditionally been this like disciplined unit under Nick Saban. Like no matter what, Nick Saban will keep this unit as disciplined as he can because he knew that if they were it feels like this is what happens when you're like too lax. I think the team is too loose. They're less disciplined. And I feel like they're just less disciplined as a team, that's something that I feel like Kellen DeBoer is going to have to learn. He's got to find that great balance between being a hard ass and being lenient on the guys. And I feel like Alabama's just played too loose this year. Like, we haven't seen Jalen Milroe take very many strides forward. He's kind of just been in the same spot. So I think Texas beats Alabama here.
Yeah.
Does Texas beat SMU?
Honestly, yes.
Shame for the Mustangs. End runs. Now the final. After all the cool games that have happened, we get number 1 versus number 2. Texas versus Oregon. I think the winner is pretty obvious here.
Don't be so sure.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Oregon has made 2 championships in the past 14 years. There was the 2010 BCS National Championship against Auburn, and the 2014 College Football Playoff National Championship against Ohio State. And they lost both. In 2014, they were actually the favorites. They were the second-ranked team in the nation. Ohio State was the 4th-ranked team in the nation, and yet even though Marcus Mariota was as dominant, was easily the best quarterback in the nation that year, he stumped the show against stuff. He couldn't do much against Ohio State. So historically, it makes you wonder if Ohio State really has the ability to finish things off. Not Oregon State in the now, not this year's Oregon State, but just Oregon State in general. I feel like I'm going to be tried for treason for calling them Oregon State. But you know what I mean.
I mean, I think this is the game where if Texas does make the CFP finals, this is the game where Quinn Ewers declares for the draft or enters the portal.
Yeah.
You pull an upset versus Oregon. Your draft stock just shoots right up. I think he's right now a day 2 pick, which is not bad because the Seahawks can take him. I'm okay with Quinn Ewers. I'm fine with that. We take him 2nd round. Beautiful. The guy sits behind Geno Smith for a year. But if he doesn't win and he looks like very sloppy, for sake of making more money, you roll the die to make more money, I think you enter the portal and go to Colorado.
Yeah.
As much as people will hate that, I mean, sure, Colorado has a 5-star commitment player right now. You're gonna you're gonna redshirt him and make him sit and learn the playbook. You're not gonna play him as a true freshman. And that sets up for Quinn Ewers because he's gonna be in his senior. He's gonna be in his last season where, if you're Coach Prime, you want to still you're now more encouraged to really build up Colorado as a big boy. Having Quinn Ewers as your quarterback, and if players find out that Quinn Ewers is playing for this team, I mean, as a wide receiver, you'd still stay. And Colorado does have great wide receivers outside of Travis Hunter. So that's where I see it happen. But if Quinn Ewers is win the CFP, he declares for the NFL draft. Because if you're in that first round, that's life-changing money. It's winning the lottery. But if you're late day 2, this is where you start seeing your less guarantees in your contract. So with these two teams, with all these at stake, Who wins the game between the Ducks and the Longhorns?
Despite what I said about Oregon, I think this is going to be their year.
Yeah, I agree. I think Oregon. I think this is the start of a new era of Oregon dominating everybody. I've always seen Oregon as like a big football program. Even like growing up in little me, knew that Oregon was like if I had a team that I would cheer for, like grow kind of like passively cheering up for it was Oregon. Because they were the big boys. They were like the best program out west. Sure, there was USC and Pete Carroll, but I was probably too young, honestly. Probably too young to really notice USC, but I always respected the Oregon Ducks. And they had more quarterbacks taken from the draft, so there's always that. So, yeah, I'm going to give this one to Oregon. I think Oregon slays their demons. As much as people are like, oh, but you never know. What if? I just don't think there's a team right now that is where we have our current bracket that would be a threat to Oregon. I think the closest team, and it all depends if Iowa State destroys Indiana in the first round. I think that's what it comes down to. Because Ryan Day needs to get that locker room. He needs to win that locker room back. And losing to Michigan, your rival in the weakest form, having the flag planted at midfield, and his reaction just sitting there. I mean, you've lost the locker room already then and there. And if you don't destroy Indiana, if it's like a close game where he almost tosses the game out, then I think Oregon just kind of slides in. I think you beat Ohio State. I think you'll beat. I think Boise State could give them a run for their money if they beat Iowa State, and that is a big if. I could be wrong too, but I think Oregon has a very clear path to the CFP. As next year it expands to 14. I think.
Oregon, in my opinion, is just the most complete team.
Mm-hmm. They're
Dylan
so
Gabriel
good.
is not a Heisman candidate, but he is a very good quarterback. They don't have the best running game, but they have a very good running game. They don't have the best defense, but they have a very good defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the best at anything, but they're good at everything, and that is what makes them a complete team.
There's lots of teams with flaws. Like Indiana, their defense is not good. The Buckeyes, Ohio State doesn't have. I'm not sold on their offense. Iowa State, I think they are good, but they haven't played. They're I think in the tier of masters they can hold their own, but when you take that stuff up into GM, you're toast.
Yeah,
you're toast. I mean, Bama, again, I don't think they're well-rounded in discipline. SMU, same thing. I think, they're a team that makes a lot of mistakes, and then because of just where they are in the ACC in the terms of competition, I think they can get beaten very easily. Penn State is just James Franklin is a Masters player. I think he could be a legend in the Big 12, maybe, if someone wants to take a chance on him. But in the Big 10, he can't do it. Georgia, I feel like Georgia's taken lots of steps back, and I don't know what they have in the pipeline. And Tennessee, maybe Tennessee would give them a shot, but they would have to go through Alabama and SMU, and Texas. So the road to just making it is harder than what it is. So I think this one will be Oregon's to lose. Now, did we curse Oregon here? Did we just give them the kiss of death? If we did, we're sorry, but we're gonna high five each other because we're cursing teams again. And remember, the most horrifying things is when the Untitled Sickos Project are all in agreement and we all pick the same team. And the funny thing is there's 7 of us, so that means they're extra cursed. Anyways, that's going to do it for me and Noah today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll get into, after the CFP bracket is official, we're going to recap conference championship games, go over the official college football bracket, playoff bracket, and as well as look at and hope to God that we have Miami and Colorado as probably the only remotely interesting bowl game. Please, can it be Miami and Colorado? That'd be such a good game. Such a good game. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week. If you guys are new here, please hit that subscribe button. Please follow everybody on their social media channels. And don't forget to watch some of the other videos that we have on the channel. They're much shorter than this one. They're definitely shorter than 90 minutes. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.